Hello, my name is Victor Shelton, and I'm the NRCS State Agronomist and Grazing Specialist in Indiana. Today we're going to talk about seed tags, calculating pure live seed, decoding multiple species seed tags, and the Indiana Pure Life Seed Tool. When you buy a bag of seed, you really don't know what you're getting unless you have a seed tag. All seed must be tested and or labeled according to seed labeling requirements of the Indiana seed law. This means that basically you have to have a seed tag and use tested seed. The tag includes the main species, and it also includes any crop seed, inert ingredients, and any weed seeds that might be found. It also includes the purity and germination information that you're going to need to figure out exactly how much seed is going to be needed to get a good stand and meet the resource concern that we're addressing. There is also a federal seed law. It's the Federal Seed Act that was passed in 1939. It requires accurate labeling with purity and germination, um, and sets the standard for seeds that are going to be sowed. The act was put together to protect the distributors and the purchasers of seed. In Indiana, the state seed rule is modeled after that recommended uniform state seed law. In Indiana, the Indiana State Seed Laboratory, which is in the office of the Indiana State Chemist, regulates the Federal Seed Act. Certified seed analysts check the purity and germination and noxious weed content of submitted seed. All seed needs a seed tag for NRCS practices. Bin run seed, if used, also needs to be tested and have a seed tag prior to use. There are several required parts to a seed tag. We'll focus on just a few of these throughout the presentation. Product name is the kind and sometimes the brand of the type of seed. The lot represents the bulk seed that was sampled. Some small seeds are coded for ease of planting and or supplemented with nutrients or inoculants in that coating. Variety or kind notes the species and the variety of the seed that's being included in the bag. Purity should always add up to 100%. It includes pure seed, other crop seeds, weed seeds, and coating and inert ingredients. That inert ingredients is generally that coating that's sometimes put on the seed. Noxious weeds are certainly noted. There are two categories, restricted and prohibited. Restricted weeds must be claimed on the label along with how many seeds can be found per pound of seed. No prohibited seeds can be claimed because they should not be sowed in a state where they are prohibited. The labeler is the company or individual that provided the seed to be tested. Disclaimers are common, especially noting to not use for animal feed, usually because of seed treatment. Germination dates include testing date and, if applicable, coating or inoculate test date. Origin is where the seed was grown. And lastly, germination. Hard or dormant seed must be claimed. Some seed will only have the germination percentage when the hard or dormant seed is not an issue. Germination can be a bit precarious in nature, but isn't supposed to be. The total germination includes presently viable seed and any hard and/or dormant seed. The total is not always listed though. If that is the case, then assume that they are separate. For example, if the germination is 80% and the hard seed is 5%, the total germination should be 85%. This is the standard way of doing it. Occasionally, germination is a total germination. It has the hard seed included. It would be nice if all followed the same protocol. Seeding rates are based on the end goal. You want to make sure that you're getting enough seed per square foot to meet the planned resource concern and the producer goals. The seeding rate can be different depending on the standard and sometimes the use. Seeding mixes for forage will need enough seed to get a good dense stand established fairly quickly, to compete with weeds, and to be able to be grazed or hayed without too much delay. Seeding for structural practices are ones that include critical area seeding, need heavier rates to ensure quick stands, to prevent erosion, and to stabilize the site. Wildlife seedings can be a bit more relaxed and are usually lower rates to allow some natural regenerative type reseeding for diversity and to prevent those stands for wildlife from being too dense for chicklings. Seeding rates and stands are also slightly different for annuals and their planned purpose. Depending on use and management, stand density changes over time, and we need to remember that. Why do we want to use pure live seed? Pretty simple. The quality of seed varies a lot, and you want to make sure that you're getting enough viable seed planted to get the stand that we're going to need to meet the resource concern. If half of that seed is not viable, then more bulk seed is going to be needed to be planted in order to get a sufficient amount of viable seed per square foot to meet the recommended seeding rate. One of the more important parts of a seed tag is purity. Purity is the actual physical composition of a seed lot. When I talk about a seed lot, that is a bulk amount of seed that has been tested, and it is then bagged. And when that seed is bagged, all those bags should have the same seed tag and indicating that same lot number that was tested. We look at purity because purity not only tells us what percent of this lot is the actual species that we're wanting to plant, but also tells us how much other crop seed is in it, or if it has weed seeds. It also tells us if there's any inert material. That could be just dirt, plant parts, or it could be seed coating. Some seed needs stratification or scarification to germinate. Older seed germinates usually a little better than new seed. And if the seed is too fresh, say it was grown in the same year, you can have a delayed germination, and that's that's not always good, especially with cover crops. We want something to take off and grow pretty quickly. Now that feature of the seed is probably to protect that seed from germinating too quickly in nature. Dormancy is always highest at seed harvest and is lost gradually with time. This is especially true with warm season grasses. Slightly older seed with warm season grasses tends to actually have a higher germination rate. Some companies actually stratify the seed to help break that dormancy before you get it. When it comes to trying to decide whether or not to count hard or dormant seed, we put these into two different categories. First of all, if we have a planting that we need an immediate stand, such as a cover crop or a perennial or annual forage planting, or especially critical area seeding for our structures, we don't count the hard or dormant seed because we want a fast stand and we need it up and growing quickly to control erosion and to get a stand established quickly. Now, if it is for a wildlife planting, then we can count the hard or dormant seed because a little delay or some of that seed coming up even the next season is not really normally a problem. Now let's review how to determine pure life seed. We need to look at the seed tag and first look at the purity and germination. In this case, for this batch of spring oats, the purity is 98.33% and the germination is 91%. This is a pretty straightforward, simple tag. If you multiply the two together as percentages, you'll find that the pure life seed is 89.5%. So the next question is going to be, how much seed do I need to plant if the pure life seed is 89.5%? Since not all seed or the bulk weight of the lot will be viable, we can easily figure out how much seed we need to plant in order to get our needed seed amount by dividing the needed pure life seed rate of 53 pounds, which came from the seeding calculator, by the 89.5%, we'll see that we need to plant 59 pounds. This can also be calculated in the Indiana Pure Life Seed tool. Now, seed tags do vary. On the green seed tag, germination and hard seed are noted on this bag of alfalfa. Total germination is also noted. So for an erosion or vegetative practice, we would use only the germination rate of 80%. This is the way a seed tag is supposed to look. Now on the white seed tag for this bag of red clover, germination is 80% and hard seed is 90%. We will assume that the total germination is 90% even though it's not included on the label. In a few cases, hard seed is included in the germination, but should not be. So 80% would be the germination rate we would use in most pure life seed calculations, unless it's only for wildlife use. Seeding rates are based on the end product. we need a minimum amount of seed. Some things affect the amount of bulk seed that is planted. In this example here, the coated seed and some hard seed will or could impact the pure life seed rate. Coated seed usually contains 33-34% inert ingredients. That's the coating. And this is clearly indicated in the lower purity. Please note that the purity, the inert ingredients in weed seeds should still all add up to 100%. In this example, this is for coated red clover. The seeding is for a pasture planting, so dormant seed is not counted. The total germination might be 90%, but for this forage planting, we would only use the germination percentage and not include the hard seed, so we'll use the 75% rate. So, if you figure this, if you took the 65.93% of pure seed times the 75% germination, you end up with a 49.5% pure life seed rate. Let's look just a little bit more at this example that shows that the pure life seed was only 49.5%. In this case, it's not low because of poor quality seed. It's more due to being coated. You coat seed to ease the planting of small seeds, and sometimes to make sure the suitable treatment is needed for the seed, such as an inoculant in the case of a legume. Some tiny seeds like teff are much easier to plant if they're coated. Seed coating is normally, like I said, about 33-34% of the bulk weight. So it is going to increase the amount of bulk seed that you'll be planting by about a third normally. So we'll take the desired rate of 8 pounds of red clover in this example and divide it by the pure life seed percent of 49.5% and find that we need to plant about 16 pounds of bulk seed to get the desired amount of viable seed planted in the ground. Now you can do this by hand or by pencil, or you can do it also by running it through the Pure Life Seed tool. Now, not all seeds equal, and that's for sure. Some native species are hard to clean and may contain quite a bit of roughage. Some native species also tend to have more dormant seed. Switchgrass is a good example for that. Yet that dormant seed amount actually decreases over time, and so the age of the seed is important. Now, that dormant seed's fine if you're not in a rush for a stand, such as with a lot of wildlife plantings, but if the stand is needed quickly to fix a resource concern, as most vegetative practices are, then we don't want to count the dormant seed. In this case, there's a lot of inert matter, a lot of duff, and there's also a lot of dormant seed, so it's going to have a very low pure life seed percentage. So let's say that we need to plant 5 pounds of pure life seed for this species. Because of the very low pure life seed, about 34 pounds of bulk seed will be needed to meet the pure life seed rate. If we did include the dormant seed for wildlife planting, because the high amount of duff material in this lot of seed, the bulk rate of seed needed would go down, but it's still not the best seed, and you should probably compare it to other seed available if possible. You can use the Pure Life Seed tool tab, how much seed, to double check your math or just run it if it's a single species or if you have individual tags for a couple of different species. Now, like I alluded to a minute ago, sometimes when you're out buying seed, a bargain's not always a bargain. You have to look at the quality of the seed. So in a case like this, we have two lots of seed. Which one's the better buy? Lot 1 does have a pretty good germination and purity, but it's 60 cents higher a pound than the bargain seed. If you take the price per bulk pound and divide it by the Pure Life seed rate, you'll get the real cost of the Pure Life seed. You'll see in this example that lot 1 is actually $2.19 per pound for the actual Pure Life seed in it. Lot 2 ends up being $2.48 per pound for the actual Pure Life seed in it. Lot 2 actually has to be on the clearance price probably of $1.05 to be the same Pure Life seed price as lot 1. You can run those comparisons of prices quickly by hand, or you can use the price check tab on the Pure Life Seed tool. We don't always get seed tags for just individual species. Sometimes they're all put together on one tag. Custom seed mixes, like indicated on this very hard to read seed tag, can not only be a bit tricky and precarious to figure out, but sometimes almost impossible. First of all, you want to look at the purities. They should all add up to be 100%. If they don't, then there's an error in the tag. This tag does add up to 100%, exactly 100%, so it's good. Quite often, someone will come in and ask if this particular mix will work for their practice. You can use the Veg Mix Percent tab in the Pure Life Seed tool to check on it. An important thing that this does for you is the math to figure out the proportional percentage. Then you can use that percentage and plug them into the seeding calculator. Now, somebody brought this tag in and they said that this is what they planted. And if you know how many total pounds were planted and on how many acres, then you can see if they planted enough seed by following this procedure. First, if they tell you they planted 250 pounds of this seed mix, which is the bulk seed, on 20 acres, then you can put the information from the tag and this into the mixed bag tag tab. That's hard to say. And then take the proportional percentages and plug those into the appropriate seeding calculator on the planting side or the actual Pure Life seed pounds planted on the check and mix side. There are also similar Pure Life seed calculators in the Pure Life seed tool for cover crops. Note that the species are not divided out by grasses and legumes, and therefore lined up with the cover crop seeding calculator entries. There are pre- and post-planting options for cover crops also. Hard and dormant seed is still shown, but it is more for an indicator of possible issues, and it's not included in the Pure Life seed rate. Again, the proportional percentages, or the actual amount of pure life seed planted that we get out of these sheets, can be used in the cover crop seeding calculator to see if it meets. The Indiana Pure Life Seed Tool is located on the Field Office Technical Guide under the Ecological Sciences tools. There are calculators to help with figuring seeding rates from tags that are brought in before planting, and also calculators for seed tag information and seed used after planting. These can be used to clarify and easily figure the pure life seed rates that were planted and or proportional percentages needed for checking them out in the seeding calculators. Lastly, a price check option is also included. On all of the vegetative tabs, you will need to distinguish whether it is a vegetative or a wildlife practice in the drop down at the top. So what is the take home? We need to use lab tested seed. We need seed tags to know the quality and to figure rates. The Pure Life Seed tool can help to decode that tag information and provide information that you're going to need to check those rates in the seeding calculators. And keep copies of seed tags and planting information for documentation. This ends this presentation on seed tags. If you have any questions, please contact your area resource specialist or the state agronomist.